Meanwhile, Joe Biden is condemning the latest acts of violence in Portland. He released a statement yesterday saying, in part, shooting in the streets of a great American city is unacceptable. I condemned this violence unequivocally. I condemn violence of every kind by anyone, whether on the left or the right. It does not matter if you find the political views of your opponents abhorrent. Any loss of life is a tragedy. He went on to say, we must not become a country at war with ourselves, a country that accepts the killing of fellow Americans who do not agree with you, a country that vows vengeance toward one another. But that is the America that President Trump wants us to be, the America he believes we are.
And, you know, it's so interesting, Mika. We've heard from Donald Trump and others and his supporters and some of the media who have said Joe Biden's not speaking out against the violence. It's ridiculous. They're not listening. Or they're intentionally ignoring the fact that
they're watching the counter
Joe
program.
Biden has continued to speak out against the violence. Two things, my friends, on both sides. Take a deep breath. Two things can be true at one time. There can be violence and chaos in Portland, which was there before Donald Trump sent in federal troops, was there while Donald Trump sent in federal troops, and is there after Donald Trump took out federal troops, and was there before Trump's people started going into the city agitating, and is still there. So these two things can be true at once. And we're going to be talking to Reverend Al in 1 second about all of the pleas from Reverend Al and the NAACP and Jim Clyburn and others to resist the violence, that this undermines the cause of the 25 million, maybe 30 million marchers that have marched peacefully this year protesting the death of George Floyd for Black Lives Matters. But you know, this whole thing, Mika, where people say, oh, Joe Biden needs to say something. Listen, that comment yesterday was not the first time Joe Biden has spoken out against the violence we've seen across America, despite what Donald Trump and a lot of Republicans and some people in the media would have you believe he said it before. Take a look.
There's no place for violence, no place for looting or destroying property or burning churches or destroying businesses, many of them built by the very people of color who were the first time in their lives were beginning to realize their dreams and build wealth for their families. Nor is it acceptable for our police, sworn to protect and serve all people, to escalate tension, resort to excessive violence. We need to distinguish between legitimate peaceful protest and opportunistic violent destruction. I said from the outset of the recent protests that there's no place for violence or destruction of property. Peaceful protesters should be protected, and arsonists and anarchists should be prosecuted. And local law enforcement can do that. When President Obama and I were in office, we protected federal property. We were able to do it without the Department of Homeland Security turning it into a private militia. And it could be done today. But that wouldn't help Trump's political interest. He's determined to stoke division and chaos. It's not good for the country. But Donald Trump doesn't care. His campaign is failing, and he's looking for a political lifeline. This isn't about law and order. It's about a political strategy to revive a failing campaign. Every instinct Trump has is to add fuel to the fire.
Protesting brutality is a right and absolutely necessary. But burning down communities is not protest. It's needless violence. Violence that endangers lives. Violence that guts businesses and shutters businesses that serve the community. That's wrong. Well, first of all, I denounced it a long time ago. I denounced it weeks ago. And I've made it clear from the beginning that there is no justification whatsoever for violence, looting. Matter of fact, it just flies in the face of the legitimate protests that are going on, and it takes away from the whole rationale for what's happening here. So I've condemned the violence from the very beginning. America. The problem we have right now is we're in Donald Trump's America. You know, to quote Kelly Conway, she said, and I'm paraphrasing today, that they're looking for more violence and more disruption because it helps them politically. He views this as a political benefit to him. You know, he's rooting for more violence, not less, and it's clear about that. And what's he doing? He's kept pouring gasoline on the fire. This happens to be Donald Trump's America. Donald Trump's America. COVID is out of control. He's doing very little to be. He's not prepared. He didn't prepare for it. He hasn't responded to it. And he continues to be in a position where he does nothing to deal with it. We have 15 million people out of work. We have, 50 million. It just is amazing how, if you notice, they didn't speak about COVID and they didn't speak about any of the reason why we're doing what's happening in Kenosha is happening. And by the way, I condemn violence in any form, whether it's looting or whatever it is.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.